straight for a decade to manual!
In 2023, VANS sold over 60 million pairs of shoes worldwide. While most brands fight for attention with louder designs and new technology, VANS kept it simple, selling shoes that have barely changed in 50 years. By modern standards, VANS should not even work. While the rest of the industry moved toward planned obsolescence and cheap foam, VANS doubled down on a manufacturing gamble that most brands would never survive. Millions of people still trust them with their ankles, but that trust comes from a specific choice made on a factory floor. VANS were not made to impress. They were built to be destroyed. It didn't begin in a marketing meeting. It began with a chemical process that has no undo button. Once you understand the risk of that process, the success of the shoe finally starts to make sense. But the very thing that made VANS successful would later become its biggest limitation, and that trade-off still defines every pair made today. Welcome to INDUSTRIA, where we uncover the fascinating processes behind the manufacturing of items inside the factories. So grab your snacks and let's go. To understand VANS, you have to understand that at first glance, rubber is just rubber. But for VANS, that could not be further from the truth. If the sole is too soft, it wears out fast. Too hard, and you lose grip. VANS had to find a balance, and they stuck with it. Their rubber is mixed to stay flexible, not springy. It bends when your foot bends. It doesn't push back. That's where vulcanization comes in. The rubber is only partially cured at first. The real transformation happens after the shoe is assembled. Heat activates the rubber and permanently fuses the sole to the upper. Foam-based shoes forgive mistakes, but vulcanized rubber doesn't. There is no undo button here. Every pair carries that risk. Once the shoe comes out of the oven, it's finished, good or bad. This high-stakes process is exactly what creates the foundation of the brand's history. VANS was not born in a boardroom. It was born in a factory. In the mid-1960s, it was just a small factory in Anaheim run by Paul Van Doren and his partners. The idea was simple: make shoes on site and sell them directly to customers. You would pay in the morning and pick up your shoes later the same day. VANS officially opened on March 16, 1966 in Anaheim, California under the name Van Doren Rubber Company. This early model forced VANS to master small batch manufacturing. If a sole failed, the customer came back the next day. No buffer, no distributor to hide behind. Every mistake had a face and a return visit. VANS did not chase a subculture. It earned one simply by making shoes that worked when people pushed them hard. That grip would later become one of the most copied sole designs in footwear history. Some accidents are meant to become legendary. Skateboarders were not part of the original plan. They found VANS accidentally. In the early 1970s, skaters noticed something different. VANS shoes stuck to the grip tape better than running shoes. Skaters did not talk about chemistry, they talked about feeling. How the board stopped slipping and how tricks felt quieter. Skateboarding was not asking for permission. It was testing limits, and the vulcanized rubber method just survived the test by creating softer, more flexible soles. The VANS era was co-designed in 1976 with professional skateboarders Tony Alva and Stacy Peralta, marking VANS' first skate-specific shoe. Unlike molded athletic soles, this rubber grips surfaces instead of rebounding off them. That flexibility gave skaters control, and once control enters a culture, loyalty follows. This pulled VANS into skateboarding without advertising, unintentionally solving a problem the sport did not know how to articulate yet. But the grip was only half the story. But before we unfold more on how VANS shoes are made, just a quick reminder, if you're liking this video so far, you'll love what else we've built here on INDUSTRIA. Check out the channel for more awesome factory stories. While the factory focused on function, the internet eventually noticed something weird that felt like magic. In 2019, a viral phenomenon asked, "What happens when you throw a pair of VANS into the air?" Short clips showed people tossing their VANS and watching them land upright every single time. There was a reason it felt believable. Because of that heavy vulcanized rubber sole and lighter canvas upper, the shoes have an incredibly low center of gravity. When tossed, they often settle sole down, almost like they are correcting themselves. While the challenge didn't work every time, it was the best marketing the company never paid for. It was a physical manifestation of the heavy-duty manufacturing process. The waffle sole was born from experimentation, not design theory. The grid pattern increased contact points with the board while allowing debris to escape. The waffle sole design has remained largely unchanged for over 5 decades, making it one of the longest-running outsole designs in footwear history. But here is the risk. Once Vans committed to the waffle sole, it limited future innovation. Vulcanized soles cannot easily absorb thick cushioning or hide technology. Every improvement must respect the same flat geometry. Vans accepted that risk and standardized the process early, choosing repeatability over experimentation. Most brands would have redesigned. Vans locked it in. This decision sacrificed trend flexibility in exchange for identity. By choosing vulcanization, Vans effectively opted out of the performance arms race that defined modern athletic footwear. They poured concrete around their design. While the sole defines performance, the upper defines identity. Vans traditionally use canvas, suede, or a combination of both. Canvas provides breathability, while suede adds abrasion resistance where tricks destroy shoes first, especially at the toe and ollie area. Uppers are cut using steel die presses or automated machines, then panels are stitched with industrial machines and reinforced in stress zones. Padding is kept minimal by design because Vans prioritizes board feel over impact protection. Modern skate shoes cushion mistakes. Vans lets you feel them. Once stitched, the upper is pulled over at last, and adhesive is applied sparingly. The goal is not to glue the shoe together, but to prepare it for the heat. The assembled shoe enters an oven where heat activates the rubber and locks the structure permanently. Unlike foam-based shoes, Vans cannot rely on cosmetic fixes. The structure is exposed. This is why factories prioritize process stability over speed. Oven temperatures and pressure must remain consistent across thousands of pairs because even small deviations can ruin the grip. Vans chose control over speed, and once that choice was made, there was no easy way back. Many people say older Vans were better. What they are really noticing is not age, it is familiarity. Vans shoes feel the same because the factory never learned a new language. The same vulcanization logic and flat geometry are baked into every pair. As skateboarding evolved and tricks got higher, Vans responded carefully. They added reinforced foxing tape and insoles like Ultra Cush, but they refused to touch the sole itself. That restraint was not nostalgia, it was physics. Adding too much foam would dull the board feel and erase the reason skaters trusted the shoe. Vans did not modernize to win a spec war. They refined quietly to defend a sensation. You cannot talk about the factory without the icons it produced. It started with the Authentic in 1966. Nothing but canvas, rubber, and grit. As skating evolved, the assembly line created the Era with its padded collar, and the 1977 Old School, which introduced the Jazz Stripe. This stripe was not just for looks. It was the first time the factory integrated leather panels for real durability. The same logic created the SK8 High for ankle protection and a slip-on, which turned a factory error into a global checkerboard phenomenon. Different silhouettes, but look closely. It is the same vulcanized sole in every single one. They scaled a legend without ever rewriting the recipe. By the early 1980s, Vans looked unstoppable, but growth came with a cost. By making most of its shoes in-house and taking on heavy debt, the company became vulnerable. When cheaper overseas shoes flooded the market, the math stopped working. In 1984, Vans filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. It wasn't because people stopped loving the shoes, it was because the company tried to grow faster than it could financially survive. This collapse forced Vans to slow down and return to its core. They emerged leaner and more focused on the shoes and the factories that made them. In the long run, that pause may have saved the brand's soul. In 2016, Vans celebrated its 50th anniversary. For their 50th anniversary, Vans doubled down on their heritage, releasing archival designs that proved their 1966 construction was still relevant in the 21st century. They released limited anniversary editions featuring upgraded materials, archival colorways, and enhanced insoles, while preserving the original shapes. The company launched the Vans Factory Floors campaign, highlighting how little the core construction had changed in 50 years. That restraint was the message. For critics, it looked like stagnation. For Vans, it was proof they hadn't blinked. Vans surpassed $4 billion in annual revenue before market slowdowns, making it one of VF Corporation's most valuable brands. Vans shoes were never designed to chase the future. They were designed to survive the present. While the industry learned how to hide technology inside foam and air, Vans learned how to make fewer decisions and stand by them longer. That consistency came at a cost: comfort, protection, trend relevance. But it also created something rarer: trust. In a world addicted to upgrades, Vans proved that refusing to change can be the most expensive decision and the most valuable one. People didn't wear Vans because they were told to. They wore them because they remembered how they felt the first time. On a board, on concrete, on the street. In a market obsessed with what's next, Vans stayed where it started: on the factory floor. Sometimes the most radical thing a factory can do is refuse to change. And there you go. That is how Vans shoes are made. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Industria. And if you are interested in finding out how UGG boots are actually made, then you must check out the video on the channel. And let us know in the comments what stuff we should dive into next.